Buddy Buckets went off last night.
Slow down.
He's like a folk hero in the Bay Area. I don't know what's going on.
Well, man, we got to ask RB that because I don't know. You know, those are cousins and everything.
It was incredible last night.
But, I'm not sure if they've adopted Buddy Buckets just yet.
Find out. NBC Sports Bay Area 49er pre- and post-game analyst, the great Rod Brooks. Rod, please tell Jay I'm speaking the truth here. Buddy Hield is taking over the Bay Area.
Hold up, you hit him with the hold up now, slow down, slow you roll. Like, it wasn't what you said, it was the tone of voice you used, it was how you said it. Hey, listen, I keep it real, man. Buddy around these parts, man. They really do. I mean, because listen, it's all about Steph.
Yeah.
Want someone to compliment Steph. You had that with Clay for the longest. Unfortunately, that relationship ended, and they were looking for a new dude. And Buddy just slide right on in here. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, this is it. He's the Splash Buddy. That's what they're calling him.
No.
So wait a minute. You mean to tell me I'm going to start seeing more Buddy Hield jerseys than Klay Thompson's jerseys?
No.
Okay.
I got to use your tone of voice. Hey, no. I'm just saying that, look at it like a relationship. You're in a relationship, but it runs its course, and you out there and you're looking for something to fill that void. Next thing you know, comes another one shooting that three. It's like, hey, you're not with the one you love the one you with.
That's it.
Wow.
I hear you.
Wow. All right, Rod. The 49ers, are they, as you see it, are they in decent position here to make another of their patented second half runs?
Yeah, they are, mainly due to who they're getting back. I'm sure you guys have talked a lot about Christian McCaffrey. Had a chance to talk to John Lynch earlier this morning. They say they're working him hard here in these bye-week practices, simulating practice next week. If all goes without a hitch these next few days and next week, he's going to be in with no restrictions necessary. So McCaffrey makes him a better football team. Juwan Jennings makes him a better football team. Talanoa Hufanga, eventually he comes back. So they're primed to make that run. I just caution thinking it's going to be just like the previous runs because this team is not like those other teams that went on those second half runs, mainly in my estimation due to the fact that the defense, while it's better these last couple of weeks, it's not as good as it was back then. And, those Niner teams that went on those second half runs were led by their defense and the offense came along later. So I believe that they're poised to do that. The schedule, there's a couple of road bumps, specifically with the Lions and Buffalo and Green Bay, because they're playing really good football. Other than that, their games in the second half of the schedule the Niners can win, but they still got to clean some things up. But they're in a much better position now than they were 3 weeks ago.
Joined by Rod Brooks of NBC, of course, Bay Area 49ers analyst. Rod, speaking of, coming off the bye week, as you talked about Dre Greenlaw, you have Christian McCaffrey. Is Talanoa Hufanga, we've heard some kind of, opposite reports that he may be back. He might not be back. I know John Lynch talked about they expect him to come back. What's your thoughts on Talanoa Hufanga coming back? And if so, who is the safety that gets pulled off the field?
That's a very good question. He's coming back. I know that there were, and I'm doing the old air quotes thing, and you can't see me. There were reports that Hufanga was done for the season with that wrist ligament injury. That is absolutely not the case. As far as John Lynch is concerned, they're trying to figure out when he comes back, are they going to wrap his hand up and have it look like a club, or are they going to try and wait it out and wait for the ligaments to heal so he can actually use his hand while playing? That seems to me that we're talking about a team that is interested in having him go out there and play. So the idea of Hufanga not playing, I think, is complete nonsense. As far as who he replaces, that's a tricky one because, Malik Mustafa's back there playing very, very well at that strong safety position. I don't know how they take him off the field. So that's calculus that they're going to have to figure out because it's not as if they can just completely take Mustafa off and feel like, okay, now we're in a better position.
Rod Brooks with us. Rod, 49ers seem to get back to more pre-snap motion. more shorter passes last week. Was that scheme or was that opponent specific, you think?
No, I think it was scheme. They had to do that. Brock Purdy airing the ball out, his depth of target numbers, I believe I've talked about this before, where he had some games where his depth of target, 12, 13, 14 yards. His yards per attempt has been hovering in the high nines all season long. Those are numbers where you got a quarterback that's throwing it down the field. I think the Niners did get away from their identity of running the ball, getting the ball to check downs, hots behind the line of scrimmage or at or around the line of scrimmage. And I think a lot of that had to do with not having Christian McCaffrey around. And Brock Purdy, he's admitted this, that he felt like he had to do a little bit more. And that little bit more meant him holding the ball a little bit longer, scrambling, trying to wait for guys to open up downfield who were having trouble beating man coverage on the outside. And the Kansas City game is kind of the shining example of that. The Cowboys are just garbage. They did that going into the game last week, and the Cowboys proved that they were garbage. And they were never going to be able to duplicate what Kansas City did because they don't have the scheme. They don't have the personnel. So when the Niners started running the ball with more success in the second half, Brock Purdy got a lot more accurate. That forced the Cowboys to go in the zone, and that's exactly what Brock Purdy thrives at. So the Niners calculus, without Christian McCaffrey, it doesn't change that they're a run-first team where Brock Purdy is not, he's not game managing, he's not along for the ride, but he has to be a part of the smart decision-making process. And part of that smart decision-making process is, hey, man, hit those short passes. Hit them. Eventually, if you do it right, that middle of the field where the Niners really like to operate, especially with Kittle, will open up, and bam, that's when you could go for the big home runs, as they did against the Cowboys.
RB, you're talking about CMC coming back, and it looks like the window should be open, barring any setbacks. Definitely heard John Lynch say that today. Isaac Guerendo and JP Morgan, where do they, and I guess I asked this question, CMC got 22 touches last year per game. I'm pretty sure he's not going to get that this year, but moving forward, how do they split that backfield carry and touches when CMC comes back in your eye?
Well, and that's a very good point because they rode Christian McCaffrey last year because they felt like they had to. Not that they didn't trust Mason, but they were a much better football team with Christian McCaffrey on the field, and McCaffrey wanted to be out there. He was healthy, so that made sense. Your best player on the field as much as possible. Well, now, not just because of the injury, but because Mason is better back. They trust him more, especially in pass protection situations. Guerendo, just getting him in this year's draft, he has gotten better with not just every game, in my estimation, every carry he gets. Guerendo is getting more and more confident, and you saw, the explosiveness and the explosion from him this past Sunday night against the Cowboys. So I say all that to say, having a chance to talk to John Lynch this morning, they know that they have a running back room that is deeper, and they have guys that they can use to give McCaffrey rest, which is the smart thing to do with the Achilles, but also just for his long-term well-being, that while there's clearly going to be a drop-off from Christian McCaffrey to whoever comes in after him, the drop-off is not going to be as great. And I believe, in my estimation, it gives Kyle Shanahan, it gives Bobby Turner, it gives the people who control that Niner run game, it gives them more options. It's not just about McCaffrey in the run game. Sure, he's always going to be the apex predator, if you will, but now they got two guys in Mason and Guerendo where you got a little thunder and lightning action. Where Mason is the big back. My man Dante Whitner says he looks like a baby Marshawn Lynch, and I agree with him. And then you got Guerendo, who isn't a slight little dude, but once he gets a crease and he hits that hole, he's learning more and more about a fairly complex, run game with the Shanahan family run system. But once he hits that hole, ain't nobody catching that dude from behind. So the Niners, they can be better with all three backs on the field. It's just up to them to figure out how they're going to split those carries. But I think that's the proverbial good problem to have.
Thanks, Rod. We'll wrap it up with this one. Did John Lynch happen to tell you what the Niners will do at the deadline? And are the rumors true that they're actually interested in Buddy Hield?
Oh man.
You hadn't heard that? You didn't hear that rumor?
That is vicious. I have not heard that rumor. But John, I asked John Lynch this morning. I asked him if guys coming back, the names we've mentioned, Greenlaw and Jake Moody, even though they're not looking for a kicker in trades, obviously. But I asked him if having those guys come back, does that have any effect on how they view making trades or what trades that they make? And, since he's not going to tell me or any of us exactly what they're going to do, he said, yeah, they feel like the guys who are getting back is almost like getting guys in trades or free agency, but they're always looking to add depth. And always remember, John Lynch is a guy who went to the Hall of Fame because he was on a defense that was really, really, really solid up front and a great defense in Tampa Bay. And they had defensive tackles, they had defensive ends that stopped the run and got after the quarterback. By my estimation, I think he wants to get deeper on the defensive line. And if it's a defensive tackle, somebody on the interior to help stop the run and get that push, he's fine with that. If it's somebody else that they could get to help come off the edge with Bosa and Floyd, he's fine with that. So he didn't tell me this. I just get a sense that if they do make a trade, it's not going to be a receiver because they've already spent draft capital on a receiver and Ricky Pearsall. You got Jawan Jennings coming back. I think it's going to be somebody to bolster that defensive line, whether it's on the outside or in the middle.
All right, Rod.
So that person is not Buddy Hield, to answer your question.
Okay, all right. That we know of. That we know of.
That we know of. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Make sure you grab a nap today if you haven't already. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that. Thanks, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. I'll take care.
Yeah. Rod Brooks, NBC Sports Bay Area. When we come back, we got one of these Brock Purdy numbers, but